Hello, everyone. I'm Scott Kennard, Digital Marketing Specialist for Cinema at Christie, and I'm excited to be the moderator of this session of CineSparks with my own former instructor, writer of Underworld, Rise of the Lycans, and Outlander, Dirk Blackman. But before we get started, we should go over a few housekeeping rules. The webinar will be recorded. You can use the chat on the right side of your screen to communicate amongst yourselves, and the Q&A tab to submit questions to the speaker. We'll answer as many as we can at the end of the show. If you like this webinar, please share the series with industry friends and colleagues on social media by tagging @Christie Digital and hashtag CineSparks. A little background on how I got here. I've wanted to write movies since I was 5, and our guest today helped me achieve that. I've taken a few of his classes in college over a decade ago, and after writing and selling a few of my own screenplays, I found my niche in digital marketing for Christie, where I could write creatively for the technology side of cinema. When I heard about CineSparks and this webinar series, I quickly pitched Mr. Blackman, as he has built a successful, long-lasting career as a writer, educator, communicator. And beyond that, he teaches screenwriting at college still, at Columbia College, Chicago, making sure all those up-and-coming screenwriters are ready for what's ahead. So without further ado, Dirk, welcome to the webinar.
Okay.
Hi, Dirk.
Scott, thank you so much.
So you've, like I mentioned, you wrote Underworld, Rise of the Lycans, you wrote Outlander, and you have a couple more pieces coming up in the works. But I figure we'll jump right into the questions, and I think that we'll get to know you even better as we go through those answers.
Lucky you. Okay.
You've been writing and teaching consistently in cinema for your entire career.
Yeah.
Can we start by understanding your thoughts on the current landscape of cinema, especially for up-and-comers?
Here's the word I choose: chaos. I mean, it's like the Wild West out there. I think you've got seems like a lot of masters of the universe running the studios who seemingly know nothing. I mean, they do things, and sometimes you have no idea why they're doing it. I don't think they know why they're doing it. I think they're just reacting constantly. When I started, it was film first, and it was television. Now it's streaming is first. Oh yeah, and then there's film. IPs were important, but now IPs you have to have IPs.
They're really kind of all over the place. So like you have to have that IP to grow from, right?
Yeah, well, you have to have, again, it's that blanket. Well, actually, it used to be, feel like it was the security blanket of, I've got an IP, therefore, since somebody else valued it, I can value it and therefore save my job. Now it feels a little bit like, well, the IP is part of like the social media thing, that everything has to have a social media component and people have to know about it in some particular way. They're more and more risk averse every day, it seems. But I think for me, the one constant I get is that people want to be told stories. Mm-hmm. It's what they want, and they need people to tell those stories to them. So my advice and the way I think about this is, don't wait for studios to notice you. Mm-hmm. You want to go make something. Use little, you've got a studio in your pocket. Go make something. Go make a YouTube short. Go make a TikTok short. Go make a movie. Go make a TV. Make things. Because I was thinking about this. Hear people tell you that you've got to create your own brand, right? And I think it's very, very true. It's genre, it's dance videos, it's blah 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 blah, right? But I think the most important brand for yourself is you're the person who gets things made. That's the number one brand you want. And then the other stuff is sub-brand. I get stuff made and it's like this. But put yourself out there as an actual creator, not somebody who waits for things to happen to them. I think that's my best advice in that regard.
Sure, and I think that that's great, especially with as inundated as we've become with social media, videos, YouTube, other things, streaming. It, like you mentioned, it has become much easier to get your own something done and get that out there. And I know you've been working on a few different avenues yourself. I hear you have a book coming out soon about all kinds of lessons that you've wished that you have learned earlier in your career.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit more about this book?
Well, it's called, with asterisks, it's called What the Fuck Was I Thinking? But what the F was I thinking? A how not to for screenwriters. So it's basically all the mistakes I made that you now don't have to make. So it had its origin in, well, as you know, I'm a screenwriter, but I'm also a teacher. This is how we met. And teachers like to tell war stories. Well, all writers like to tell war stories, and students love war stories, especially the more bloodier, the better. So I'm sitting there telling some war story about my career and how I screwed up something entirely. And a student says, well, what would you have done differently? And I'm like, oh, hey, that's a great question. And good enough that I actually wrote a book about it. So this is where I went back and I looked at my career, long career, pretty successful. And I spotted all these things that I had done incorrectly. So I write this story about each of those things that I screwed up. And then I explain why they were a mistake. And then here's my little branding, if you will. I actually rewrite my life in script form in the book so that Dirk, writer, instead of doing this, does this. And so you get the benefit of me rewriting my life for whatever that is worth. So like my great, for instance, is doing this movie Outlander. I and my writing partner at the time, we were due a $300,000 bonus when the movie got started, when the camera started rolling.
That's
And
significant.
for various reasons, the budget hadn't been locked. They couldn't quite borrow the money that they needed to borrow because the budget had to be exactly this. And so the producers, they take me to, I think they take me to some Thai restaurant in Toronto, maybe, and say, hey, can you defer your $150,000? So instead of getting it right here in the confines of the budget, you're going to get it after the movie is finished, from a Canadian tax fund. It's how it was all set up. I won't go into that too terribly much, but you'll get it over here. And I'm thinking, like, well, I mean, I'm fine. I mean, literally don't need it now. I can wait a little bit. And the only way this is not going to work out is if the Canadian government falls, and the Canadian government is not going to fall. Canada is a wonderful place. All is good. I'm fine. Sure. My reps aren't really helpful in this. So they let me do it. I do it. And as you can imagine, it goes horribly awry.
Right.
And I lose my $150,000, which is a big deal.
Wow. Yeah.
And it wasn't anything to do with the Canadian government. It had to do with an insurance company. But I won't go into too much about that because now we're getting too much in the weeds. But in my book, the short version of this is, in that Thai restaurant, when they say, hey, will you defer your $150,000? My answer is no, thank you very much. I'll have some more of the noodles. Because if you defer money, you're going to lose it. Mm-hmm. So you can do it if you're okay with losing your money. And maybe you won't, but you're gonna, because they'll always figure out a way to keep your dough. So this book is basically my wish that somebody had told me that before. mean, I've learned a lot of stuff over my career that I wish someone had told me. So that's what the book is about. Things I wish I had known.
Yeah. The chaos of production will always vacuum up any extra money, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, the bond got called. I'm sorry. There we go in the weeds. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the insurance company had to step in to fix the movie, to
Right.
finish the movie for reasons, and then they sucked up all the money from the Canadian tax fund, which I didn't know they could do because my
Right.
representatives didn't tell me. Blah blah blah.
And I think that's actually a really important part of this book. Is I was actually lucky enough to be able to read it as a manuscript, and there's a lot of information in here that you just don't think about as a screenwriter, because you're focused on putting out the best work you can as quickly as you can. And once you do that, though, there's still so much more to the job afterwards, and that's really where the book picks up. Is okay, I have that great screenplay, now what, and how do I avoid those pitfalls? So the kind of lessons that you learn in there are really very helpful. So I guess as part of that is one of those first steps is finding that first agent or representation. How did you land your first agent, and how would you recommend people do that today?
One thing, because I want to do a shameless plug if I can. I don't know if this is where I'm supposed to do my shameless plug and get right into that. So the book isn't published yet, but if you want to read the preface to see if it's fun and interesting to you, and then leave your email, you can by going to WTF. Oh, look at it is WTF was I thinking.net, not com, net. WTF was I thinking.net. So just take a look. See there, go like, oh yeah, Dirk seems really fun and wise. Blah 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 blah. Then leave your email, and I'll let you know when it's available. So shameless.
As long as we're shameless plugging, I will say I did have you as an instructor. I might be biased, but reading the book, it was one of the few, maybe along with like Save the Cat, that makes me feel like, okay, the writer is actually interested in my future. Like I'm getting pieces of information that actually, it's not just information, it's information that directly affects me. So
certainly I liked in classes to hear myself talk. No question about that. I mean, not going to lie. But yes, you spend 13 years teaching people your age and you kind of love them. And I want to see you all make it.
Right.
So
everybody can eat. So now to that very important question. I have a great screenplay. How do I get representation?
Okay, so this is what everybody asks, and here's the problem. It's not there's no magic bullet, right? This is you need an actual, I would say, a war plan. Mm-hmm. And you need the dedication to carry it through. So first off, you don't want an agent right now. You want a manager. Manager will help you get the agent. It's a little bit easier to get a manager than it is to get an agent. They're casting a wider net, and they're the ones who tend to act as funnels to get people an agent. I'm not saying you can't, but that's where you aim. You tend to aim at a manager. But like I said, this is not a magic bullet thing. So you got to think about a few things. To me, it's like, do your querying. Absolutely. Don't be shy. Keep at it. Blah, blah, blah. Enter your contests. Do all that. Small thing. Do send your best work. I don't mean you should frame every single paragraph, but do send your best stuff. I remember actually a former student said, "Hey, Dirk, will you read my screenplay?" I'm like, "Oh, sure, of course I will. Absolutely." And he sent me I think it was a 50-page feature. And I was like, what are you doing? You can't do that. I mean, I'm happy to be a resource, but you got to send me a real thing. And I had a reaction to that where like, okay, this person, maybe they're not really serious. Mm-hmm. So you need to make your best impression in those things. But, okay. So here's the things. obviously network. That is probably the most important thing. When I graduated AFI, American Film Institute, the dean said it's going to take you 5 years. And I sold my first thing 5 years after I graduated, like to the day. And there's two things that happen during those 5 years, at least, right? One is you're getting good enough to be represented because you're working, right? And you're meeting the people who are going to help you get represented. I mean, I think about this a lot because a lot of my students, because they're writers, they like to spend time in their caves. I have a cave. I would move the camera, but that would screw everything up. I have a cave. I spent 25 years here. Blah blah blah. So I get that, but you can be shy, but you have to get past being shy. You can have social anxiety, and I get that, but you've got to find the way to, I hate to say this, but power past those things because it's necessary. You have to meet the people, and they can be your cohorts. I mean, if you happen to go to film school, they can be the people in your year and the above. They can be that. That's fine. Come up with those people, but you've got to create your network because you need the person who's working at a production company as an assistant. Say, hey, dude, remember, we played volleyball on the beach. Well, hey, now read my script. And you need that. And so it takes a while to get that going. It's part of your war plan. You need a little bit of talent. Sorry, you just do. So how do you get your talent? Hopefully you have some. You got to work. You got to write. Keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. You just do it. If you're not willing to do that, then you're not a writer anyway. So it doesn't matter. You're fine. Go off and do something else that will make you happy. All good. And watch stuff. I'm surprised at how, I've had plenty of students who don't watch a lot of stuff, which makes me insane. I don't understand. I took a poll in one class. Who's seen The Matrix? It was a particular class, and only half had seen The Matrix. I mean, I forget whether you have. Have you seen it? You see? Okay, yeah. No, but I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, how do you not see The Matrix? It's an older movie now, but it's Keanu. He's still relevant. It's a great action movie, a seminal action movie. So so it's one of those things like, how is this possible? So watch everything. Watch movies, watch streamers, watch YouTube videos, watch everything, because for reasons A, you do get meetings. Well, guess what? Actually, executives have seen things. So you need to be able to go, oh my God, yeah, I saw White Lotus. It was amazing. You need to be able to say that. And two, it's muscle memory. Mm-hmm. The more you train yourself, you watch stuff, well, you start to, you get a feeling like, oh my God, yes, I've just written 25 pages and nothing happened. You get these feelings within you. So you got to do that. So talent, you need some luck. You just do. So that goes to, I think, the last one for me. I mean, there's lots of things in this stew, but endurance. Can you dedicate enough time to actually receive a little bit of luck? I mean, if you're in it for a month, you're probably not going to get that bit of luck. If you're in it for a year, maybe, but you're in it for more time, you're more likely to actually be the recipient of luck. So you've got to have the ability to endure, a lot of difficulties. When you write something, you're pretty damn sure it's awesome. And you have no idea why people don't see that it's awesome and that would make them money. But a lot of times they just don't.
Right. So, it falls back to a lot of the old adages, right? Of like, it's who you know, but there's no gateway in front of who you know. You can still get out there and you can meet people and expand that. So, okay, here's an example. This happened to me the other day. Honest to God. So I play basketball. I played basketball for 25 years with essentially the same group of people. One guy had joined, and I played basketball with him now. He was like 5 or 7 years, right? We just play basketball. That's all we do. But somehow he found out that I had written Underworld, Rise of the Lycans. So he says, hey, do you have any scripts? And I said, no, sure, to read. Yeah, read some scripts. And
he reads a couple of scripts and says, I'm putting together a film fund. I'd like to feature your scripts in my film fund and the intent of making one in the next year. I'm like,
Wow.
Sure, that sounds fantastic. But so this is kind of thing with this intersection of a lot of stuff. I'm a reasonably good writer, so I've this kind of talent. I've obviously had endurance. I got a little luck because I've been doing this for a long enough time that this just happened, and it was a contact, but it wasn't a contact I set out to make. It was just part of my life. So I don't play basketball. I never meet this dude, and I have no idea what's going to happen. He and his partners are great people. They seem very serious. We'll see.
Right. Living in Los Angeles helps.
There's no question. It's a force multiplier to live in Los Angeles. I don't think you have to, or you will never make it. I don't mean it that way, but it's a brick that does help.
Right. Okay, so that's a lot of good information on different avenues on how to find this representation, and again, it seems like the more you put yourself out there, the more people you meet, the more people you know, the more luck you might find. But once you get that representation and you start getting jobs, you start making friends with people that can move things in the industry, how do you stay relevant, especially in such a fluctuating market? Like after the pandemic, the strike, all the streaming and different IPs out there, everybody wants sequels. How do you stay relevant to all that?
Again, I can only talk from my own experience in this regard. I mean, another word I like to use is nimbleness. Being nimble. So what does that mean? Okay, again, I want to go with like how to live your life kind of a thing in this industry. So again, let's go back to watching everything. You got to know what's out there, right? That's not a big surprise. You need to know what's out there. You should read the trades, understand trends, what's going on. You should, I think, again, work your contacts as always. But these are weird times. So maybe you become knowledgeable in some weird niche. Maybe you're watching TikTok trends, YouTube trends. Maybe you're into cosplay. Get drunk, be young, be out and experiencing the world. I mean, live. I mean, part of it's just live. Just live your life and be part of all of this. Again, make things. Use that studio. And here's the main thing for me, which was I was looking for opportunities. No, I wasn't. I was open to opportunities that were off point because you don't know where they lead you. So, example, I'm looking at some of my notes just to make sure that my brilliance I don't forget. So I went through a period where I wasn't selling anything. It was a really bad moment in time, and somebody said, well, why don't you think about teaching? And I thought, that could be fun. So I answer an ad, get a job at our school, and I start teaching. And I freaking loved it. I mean, I've done it for 13 years. I mean, it's fantastic to me. And I just like it. But let's just be, again, off point here a little bit. Talking to you people has been fantastic because it keeps me honest. It made me the more time I spent saying keep things simple, right, to students in screenwriting, the more that brought that back to me. Keep things simple, Dirk, because I kept saying it, so now I have to do it because it's true. So I learned from you guys. I mean, I got things to watch. I mean, I discovered Gossip Girl because of students. I mean, seriously. I mean, I remember the first time someone said, watch, some young students said, watch Gossip Girl. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Why would I watch something like that? So I'm bored. I tried and like, oh my God, it's the best thing on earth. So, but I mean, so there's that. I mean, and my wife and I produced an editing conference in London with the American cinema editors for 7 years. So that was just like over here. But during those 7 years, I got to hang out with literally the top editors on earth, which enriched me, made me a better writer. I got to talk to them. So again, that's over here. I just sold a graphic novel. So I'm writing a graphic novel right now, seeing all the art come in. I got to storyboard basically an entire comic book, which you don't get to do as a writer. As a writer, you say person enters room and everybody else does the work. Here, I gotta okay, well, the person enters the room, it's going to look like this, and I draw it, and then I describe it. So it was a new thing, and this thing, who knows? Maybe this thing is a successful graphic novel. Maybe then it wraps around because somebody buys it and we make it into a TV show, a streamer. So it's
Don't box yourself. Be open to
so easy. Yes, it's so easy as a writer to think this is the world. I made the mistake. The most amateur mistake I made, because I was young, was thinking that it was enough to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. You have to be, but it's not enough. So yes, if you think of your life like this, no, again, in my opinion, you need to think of it like this. Let it expand outward. If you see an opportunity that seems like it might be interesting, take it. You do not know where it's going to lead. So that's a part to me of being relevant, is doing all sorts of allied things or even unallied things, but allied things that can maybe bring you back to where you were, or hey, who knows, maybe lead you into something entirely different that you love. So I think that would be my answer in regard to maintaining relevance, being in the now.
Sure.
Oh, I hate myself for saying that.
Well, I'm glad you did take on these other opportunities like teaching, because it opened up this avenue between you and I, and you certainly taught me a lot. One of the greatest pieces of advice that you taught me throughout the years, both professionally and personally, is how to apply the note beneath the note. So the writer has to take the note, whatever it is. The producer might not understand the story completely, but they're going to give a note, and I have to figure out what that is. And it could be a producer, it could be a girlfriend that says like, "There's a problem here," and it's really helped me a lot. So I was hoping that you could give that wonderful tidbit of information to this group.
Okay, so the note beneath the note, what is it basically? All right, so like you said, you get a note, and just say it's the worst note on earth, and you look at that note and you're like, I think I'd rather die than do this note. Or this note will unravel everything I've done and maybe destroy other scripts that it hasn't even touched yet. And you dismiss it. It's stupid. This is literally stupid. I will not do that. I cannot do that. That's just dumb. Or you do it without understanding it, and then it doesn't work. So the note beneath the note is this. You say to yourself, okay, that's an incredibly bad note. But why did they give you that note? That is, what were they sensing underneath? When they read your material, what were they sensing? What was the problem that they just gave you an answer for? They give you this terrible answer, but it doesn't mean there wasn't an actual problem. Because some executives, some readers, some girlfriends, some boyfriends maybe can't articulate exactly what it was they felt. So in their mind, they do a rewrite. That's what's happening. They're doing a rewrite, but they're not quite sure why they're doing the rewrite.
Mm-hmm.
So if you query that, if you start to go, okay, why this? Why? You can land on, hopefully, like, oh my God, this is what's wrong. And if you know that this is what's wrong, then you can go back, and instead of saying, oh my God, you're a freaking idiot for having suggested that, you can say something along the lines of, oh my gosh, what a great point. But how about if we attack it like this?
Mm-hmm.
Which parenthetically, y'all should know this is the way to do things. That's the yes and way of answering something. You answer something no, that can be very dangerous in a creative environment. You're the writer who's, you know, reticent to make changes. Yes, and that's the way you want to approach things. Oh my God, that was a great note. How about we try it like this? And you can only get there if you understand why. So if you want, I'll give you a couple examples, because there's hard note beneath the notes, and then there's soft note beneath the notes. So hard one. I pitched a story about it was a fantasy story about a guy who saves the world from some mythical being. Okay.
Sounds fun.
It's a great script, actually. It's $200 million. So it was a swing. Anyway, so I pitched to this executive, and I'm just in the story phase at this point. And the executive said, that sounds amazing. But how about he has a daughter? And I'm like, ha. I don't do that face there because, that's stupid to do that face. Oh, yeah, great. And I go home and I'm like, oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, how freaking cliche. The hero has to have a daughter, blah, blah, blah. But then I was smart enough to go, like, wait. What's the note beneath the note? Oh, you're so stupid, Dirk. The note beneath the note was the hero is saving the world, but he's not saving anyone personal to him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have that personal thing. So I go like, actually, a daughter's a really good idea. So I wrote a script with the hero saving the world and saving his daughter, putting their relationship back together. And that note, when I understood it, saved the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So that's that kind of note beneath the note. It's a hard one where, I don't mean difficult. I can explain this in terms of what a soft note beneath the note is. So this movie Delivered, I did for Blumhouse, they're doing for Hulu, a bunch of thrillers they do for a thriller for set at holidays. Okay. Anyway, so I have a script. We have a director. Director and I love the script, which is why I love the director, because you love the script. Didn't want to change it. 107 pages, tight, boom. But we have a meeting with one of the producers. And this producer says, we found maybe actually like 85 pages is really a good length for these. And then she said, but you do, trim it a little bit, but do what you, do what you're comfortable with. So this is a soft note beneath the note. Mm-hmm. Here's why. Director and I, we cut 5 pages out. So it's not 102 pages. And it's freaking humming. I mean, it is so taut. It's so good. We hand it in. Week and a half later, whatever, there's a table read. I get to the table read. I open the script. It's quite thin. I'm like, oh my God, they've gone green. They're printing on both sides of the page. These people. And then I look and no, they haven't. What they did was they literally pulled 20 pages out of the script. I mean, I'm saying pulled them out. They hadn't even stitched them together with dialogue or anything. They just pulled them out, and it was now 85 pages.
Oops.
Because what they gave the soft note beneath the note. Soft being they didn't just frickin' say it. Mm-hmm. Because they were always only going to have an 85-page script. And so they should have just said, make it 85 pages. Do whatever you have to do. That's what we can shoot on our budget and our schedule. And we didn't hear that, because if we had started here, that we would have said, you know what, I'm going to go check IMDb. I'm going to look up, because there's like 14 in the series at that time. I'm going to look up the running times of the 14. And they all come in around 85, 87 minutes. And we would have gone, oh, hell, it's got to be 85 pages. And then we could have fixed it. Instead of what happened is the director had to fix it essentially on the set, which
Right.
I think she did a great job, but there's only so much you can do with that kind of situation. So that was a soft note beneath the note. We didn't hear it, but we should have heard it.
Yeah.
Because oddly enough, there are executives, they will not give you the hard notes, even though they know, because they want to feel collegial. They don't want to feel anti-artistic.
Mhm.
And so you get a lot of different types of notes, and you really got to be attuned to what they're actually saying. Note beneath the note.
Yeah, gotcha. And that I think that these and other lessons are so essential, and you don't get them really from film school or at most of the conversations that you hear, seminars you go to, because you get a lot of the how do I get my script to that point, but in your book, you can now get what to do after your script is to that point. We are nearing the end of the session. We have one more question left, but before we get to that, I'd like to remind everyone to use the Q&A panel to start submitting your questions. And after I ask this next question, we'll go ahead and get to those. So for my final question here, Dirk, how do you foresee the industry changing in the coming years? Especially as audiences, as our audience here gears up for careers in the same field where you've spent a lifetime, what do they need to consider about the future of cinema?
Well, I'm going to just go with the one mutant elephant in the room, which is AI.
Right, AI.
Okay, so I'll start with the bloody version, and I'll get someplace that's not quite so bad. The bloody version is, I think AI has the possibility of actually destroying our society and creating riots. I mean, I really believe it could be that bad. It could replace that many people. Okay. Bloodiest version, where I'm literally talking about social discontent. Now let's hit the Hollywood version. My take on this. There's certainly going to be a period, right, where the studios are going to use it to trim jobs. Because again, they're not run by people who give a flying F about the actual art and artists and creatives. I mean, I'm overstating that, but they're servicing multinational masters, so they have to, they have to keep the profit margins going. So I can imagine some version where in X number of years, you got some couch potato, some schmo. He goes to Netflix AI and he says, I want to see, and he'll just say it into his control. I want to see a movie. I want to see Humphrey Bogart save Zendaya in a remake of Taken in the style of Studio Ghibli.
Wow.
Which sounds fucking awesome, by the way. And Netflix will crap that out for $10. And the studio will not pay anybody for it. They'll pay royalties probably for the use of, Zendaya's AI image and blah, blah, blah. But so that's, to me, that's the most awful thing that I can imagine. But then I started thinking of, what if the studios are actually really, really stupid? Because I think they are. What if they're like Nixon opening China, thinking, oh my God, we've got 1 billion people who are going to buy our products. Oops, that didn't work out real well. Because I started to think about this. Say I've got, again, this is X number of years in the future, right? And we creatives, we know how to create art. It's what we're good at. Studios know how to make that art because they have the money. We need them. They need us. Okay. We're thinking like, okay, well, they're not going to need us with this AI thing. But what if we don't need them? So I've got a pilot, say. I've just written a pilot, and studios either they're not going to read it or they don't like it or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, something, wait a minute. AI engines are at the point where I can make this pilot in AI, and it's going to look just as good as if it's shot. What if this is actually, let's see, what if AI is actually asymmetric warfare? Okay, a force multiplier for us. What if creatives actually can use AI to make things without the studios? And if they're good, people will watch them, and we can put them out on YouTube or whatever platform of the future there is and completely bypass them. What if by introducing AI into the cycle, as they will, what if they are actually sowing the seeds for their own demise and we're going to come out on top? I don't know that that's impossible, because it's going to be there. You will be able to AI shoot a pilot in not that long from now.
Which goes back to what you said in the original question, right? Is we can do it ourselves to get ourselves out there.
Yes. Don't wait. Do not wait for the studios to notice you. Okay? If you do something good, they will notice you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And maybe we don't need them to.
I think that's a great piece of advice, and certainly things are changing in the future. We do have quite a few questions coming in, but I want to make sure were you complete on that thought? I kind of cut you off a little bit.
No, I think so. No, not at all. That's what I got.
So our first question from the audience is, how important do you feel representation has been and continues to be in your career? Your agent, manager, publicist, lawyer, etc.
Now, you said my career. That was the question, not a person's career. So I'll just answer the first one right now. I've had basically the worst representation I could possibly imagine almost my entire career. Or my partners have gotten, I looked at this, 70% of the work came through us. Which is very bitter when you're writing that check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that said, probably the 2 or 3 best years I had were because I was at a good management. Well, they were iffy, but they put me with a good agent, and that agent got me some very, very good jobs. They got me into rooms that I could not have gotten myself. And that's the thing. They get you into rooms. That's why they're there. And what you do in the room, that's up to you, and your preparation and your work, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a real mixed bag. Like I said, my management has almost always been bad. And I've had, like I said, 2 or 3 good years with an agent.
I see.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good enough answer.
But they're sort of necessary in the current industry space, though. Having representation gives you some sort of, I don't know, clout or something, or is it something that you can really bypass because you can do it yourself now with AI and the phone in your pocket?
No, that's not, because here's the thing. What they are, they're again, use that term, force multiplier of your connections. You have these connections. Well, they have these connections that are like that. And so many of them, they can get people on the phone. And here's the thing, what they know, and truly, they know what's available. They know what, right? They get reports. They have meetings like, this is what the studios are looking for. This is what's going to get made. these type of things. These are the open writing assignments. They have this level of knowledge that it's very unlikely that you're going to have. And then again, they can put you up for those things and get you in those rooms so that you can pitch for that assignment, or you can, blah, blah, blah. No, they're still a truly necessary part of this, I think.
I see. I think, and somebody mentioned it in the chat too, is fantastic honesty, and I think we've all been appreciative of that throughout this discussion.
Yeah, maybe too so.
We're live. So question 2 kind of expands on that. So you mentioned a few ways to network and get lucky. You have encounters. Do you have a specific way to network, especially for people that don't go to film school or maybe don't live in Los Angeles? Is there a way to get in contact with people or expand that outside of just kind of being there?
Wow, it's a little harder question for me because I'm not in that that position. I mean, there are. Geez, I'm trying to think. There are the writers groups. What? Geez. Oh, now you got me. You got me stumped on that, which I feel terrible about because I really want to. I mean, I get that. I mean, I really get like, well, how I'm living over here and I don't get to do those things. And I understand how difficult that must.
I can pitch you a few things that I know of people that have like entered contests or not exactly open writing assignments, but I did a once upon a time when I was graduating, I entered a Nickelodeon spec writing contests and things like that. Would you recommend contests in that way?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I know they cost a couple of dollars, but why not? I might go back to this idea of making things in terms of you can make things anywhere and put them up to be obviously on YouTube, wherever. And so now they are available anywhere. So you can create an identity and a brand. And with a social media campaign, you can start to bring those things forward. I think making yourself noticeable in that way, that's probably, it's certainly easier than when I came up in that regard. I mean, you can make yourself noticeable by creating things. And by the way, when I say making things, it doesn't mean that you have to go out and act in it and shoot in it and edit it and blah, 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 right? It means that maybe you're putting together a group of like-minded people who come together and make a short every week, every 2 weeks. So you put together a production group, perhaps, and maybe you're the writer in that. And there's others who are directing it and others who are editing. You can actually do things like that and now suddenly you actually have maybe you have a local group of people who are trying to get noticed.
That actually sorry, continue.
No.
I can. Well, I was going to say our third question actually follows on that tangent in that they say, so you say go out and make something ourselves, but if we don't have the financial support or maybe the lifestyle that supports that, what is your recommendation on finding like survival jobs versus creative jobs, and how to keep up the energy between both? You may have answered that a little bit just now, and create a group so it's not all on yourself if you can find like-minded.
Well, I mean, again, okay, just remind me about the second part of that question, because I just go back to that. You can make something for $1. I have a friend of mine who made a short, and he spent, a lot of money on doing so, and he made a very good short, but he chose to spend a lot of money on it. He didn't need to do that project. You can do the projects that are not that expensive. I mean, there's a show I forgot I watched on Apple. It's with a person whose name I can't remember. Anyway, the idea is a psychiatrist gets kidnapped by a serial killer, locked in the serial killer's basement, and the serial killer wants a psychiatrist to actually treat him so he doesn't want to kill anybody. The entire thing basically takes place in a basement and could have been shot by anybody listening to this right now. It cost nothing. Now, it had two major actors in it whose names I can't remember because I can't remember.
Steve Carell.
Yes, you got it. Steve Carell. But the thing itself, it cost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying is that you actually can create things out there that are not going to bust your budget at all. You just have to write them that way. You have to write them well, and you have to write them cheap. Thank you, Owen. The Patient. I think that's the right name. But anyway, that you actually can do. And then back to the first part of that question, I forget what it was. It was
essentially if you
survival jobs versus creative jobs. Look, I mean, no matter what, you're living your life, and you have to do what you have to do. I mean, you do. If you need that survival job to pay your rent, no one can argue with that. I mean, there's no shame in it. There's nothing. It's like, and again, parenthetically, you don't know who's just, serving coffee next to you. Maybe it's somebody that you should know. I mean, I know that sounds a little wavy gravy, but it's the truth. I mean, if you can get the creative job, and I know plenty of young creatives who are working at CAA or working at production companies and so forth like that, management companies. Those jobs are out there, and if you can get them, great. Those are wonderful jobs to have and really important. But if that's not your path at the moment, you have then do the survival job proudly and well and earn your money. And somehow you have to find the time to keep getting better at what you do. You have to find that, because you will be unhappy if you don't.
Right. Something that I learned from college, and it may have been your class or another, but you have to have a job so you can live and eat. And then you have to write if you're going to be a writer, and you have to have some social life, but you only really get 2 out of the 3 of those at any given time, unless you can combine something.
Something. I mean, again, there's no tried and fast rule for this. I mean, when I was basically your age, this age, I had a creative job. I was working at William Morris, and I was writing like a demon, and I was in a marvelous relationship to my wife. Well, before we even got married, who I'm still married to, just 30-year anniversary. Thank you very much. But I mean, I did all 3. Now, maybe I just got lucky, and that's fine. I'm not going to say that I'm some exemplar of perfection. That's redundant. No, it's not. Anyway, so, but I don't believe that. I believe it can be true, depending. Like, some people get jobs that are just like so overwhelming, and that you have to take home with you, and you're doing basically a 15-hour a day job. Okay, yeah, but maybe that's telling you that job is the wrong job. Maybe you need to move over a little bit and do that, because that's one of the pieces of advice I give in my book, which is like, you have to live your life.
Right.
You have to. I mean, I think you can do all 3. Maybe it does take a little luck. So I don't want to be blithe about that, but I believe it's possible. I do, because I lived it. I have to believe it.
I think that's fair. We have about 5 minutes left and 2 more questions in the QA. So I'm going to give you the softball first and ask you, who are your favorite writers or scripts, and why?
That's not a softball. That's not a softball at all.
Don't look forward to the one after it.
I'm literally terrible at questions like that. I mean, especially because it forces me to remember names, and I'm terrible at remembering names. So I'm gonna. What's your hard question?
Okay, you're probably more comfortable with this one then. What are your tips for being well prepared for a writing assignment? meeting once you actually get in the room. So what do you do once you get in the room? How do you prepare for it before you get there? I will say there's a great segment on this in your book. What the fuck was I thinking?
Well, I mean, there is absolutely understand that. I mean, do your homework. Understand what the company does, what their upcoming slate is like, and then do a little research, of course, on the actual person you're meeting. So it's not necessarily creepy to to read their bio and look up their hometown and things like that, because you actually don't know what you're gonna find. I mean, I've actually had meetings. Oh, you're from New Jersey. I mean, I'm from New Jersey, so I mean, we something to talk about there. Do know that. I'm going to assume that you've done all your homework in terms of the actual project. You've read the material, you've come up with your take, you've practiced your take, so that you really understand it, and you really understand what your pitch, if it's a pitch, what you're pitching to these people. You get in there, and you're probably referring to things like, they offer you a Diet Coke, accept the Diet Coke, have a drink, enjoy yourself, be cool. Don't ask for the beef macchiato coffee drink. Don't do that. You don't want to, you don't need to stress out the assistant. Accept the Diet Coke. Take the empty away, throw it away, thank the assistant, be really nice to everybody, of course, but be very nice to the assistant, because you just want to just create a nice positive energy all the way through. You get in there, again, just about being ready or whatever. And I may be going a little astray in this, I'm not quite sure, but look around their office. Every one of these people is a nerd in some fashion. So, and they will, okay, like me, I'm nerd central in back here, right?
And another reason to watch The Matrix and all these other movies.
Another reason. But they will have things, and don't be afraid to go like, oh my God, that Pokemon statue, that's so cool. I mean, whatever, right? I mean, don't be afraid to engage on the things that are in their room, because they're there for a reason. They're icebreakers, and that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for that, because in the end, you're, as you know, and again, if I'm off a field on this one, sorry, you're pitching a project, you're pitching whatever it is, but you're pitching yourself. That's your main product, right? You're pitching yourself. And what you're saying is, not only can I do this job, but you're going to be happy spending time with me. I'm reliable. I listen. I'm going to be interesting. I'm going to be, and this is very important, interested, because they like people to be interested in them. Right. So all of these things, and it's not about being phony. It's just about finding, it's just about finding that energy in yourself. And I think everybody's got it. I mean, but everyone's got it. So find that energy. So research and being positive.
A little internet stalking's okay. On whatever the company is.
Tiny bit. And if you have to, then yes, use one of those search engines that doesn't track you.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you, everyone. We're coming up to the top of the hour now. We hope you found this conversation enlightening, and hope to see your name and credits soon too. Dirk, it's been great chatting with you, and thank you for bringing the stories to the group here.
Indeed. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah. Be sure to sign up for his book on what the fuck was I thinking.net. We'll put that slide up again in a moment. I think we put the link in the chat.